Hi, Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com. I'm making this video at home because it might end up being a little bit longer than my typical videos. I'm going to try to keep it short as I can, but I want to make a video about what I think makes Tai Chi special. There are more and more people on the net and Facebook and YouTube and stuff who have the opinion that they express that Tai Chi is nothing special about Tai Chi. It's an exercise like any other exercise. You can get similar benefits from walking or playing tennis or swimming, and it's just cloaked in a lot of Chinese mystical Chi, magical thinking, mumbo jumbo, and that stuff's all just superstitious hoo-ha, and really it's just another exercise like any other. Now, I happen to be somebody who can really agree with that viewpoint sometimes, and I can really empathize with it, and I get it, because there is a lot of what I consider to be unnecessary mystification of Tai Chi and things related to it. Loads of videos, woo-woo stuff on YouTube and elsewhere that I think are just bullshit. I just think it's compliant students and offering structure and masters who are, tapping into that structure and pushing, and the other person goes leaping and flying and hopping all over the place, and I just don't believe them. I don't believe it. I think it's fake. If they would demonstrate against skilled, uncooperative strangers, that would be a lot more convincing to me than when they do this stuff with their compliant students. Having said that, and that's an opinion, that's where I'm at the moment. Please don't barrage me with comments about how your master can, make you fly across the room 30 feet. Great, if you believe in that stuff, that's okay. I've seen a lot of videos and I haven't seen a convincing one yet. But that's just my opinion at the moment. I don't believe in it, but I don't disbelieve it either. I'm just saying I haven't seen the evidence yet that Qi exists as a real discrete substance, or that these mystical videos or magical superpowers are real. I'm not really interested in superpowers anyway. I'm interested in everyday powers. I do, however, think that Tai Chi offers more than a lot of different exercises out there, and I think it is special, and I'm going to delineate in this video why I think that is so. So, first of all, Tai Chi is a big umbrella. There's a lot underneath it, and I always tell my new students when they start, welcome to the argument, because people can barely agree on what Tai Chi is, or there's constant, the joke about how many Tai Chi people does it take to screw in a light bulb, one to screw it in and say, another one to say, that's interesting, but in our style we do it differently. There's disagreements constantly about what constitutes the correct movement, this movement, that movement. So before I can talk about the health benefits of Tai Chi and why I think it's special, I have to tell you what I do, because if I just say Tai Chi, I'm not saying that these health benefits come from that style of Tai Chi, or this style, or this style, or this style. There's many different ways to approach it. There are very, very form-dominated ways of doing this, where the exact perfect form is emphasized to the point of minute corrections, and it's based on Chinese medical principles, or meridians, or Qi, or powers, and those kind of things. There are other styles that are much more combative-oriented, that are designed to help you fight, and the sole purpose of the training is fighting. There are lots of people in between. There are people that are more focused on principles and how they act than they are on rigid conformity to exact forms. I'm one of those people. I focus on principles, and rather than have a perfect, correct form in the movements, in our style there's a zone of correctness. And the correctness is based on physics, it's based on effectiveness in the movements. If a small correction makes a movement more effective, I'm all for it. But a small correction for aesthetic or for theoretical reasons that aren't easily demonstratable, then I consider it just to be too rigidly uptight and overly dominated by form. So I have some of this stuff written out to help me remember it. In my mind, Tai Chi is, and what I consider it to be, is the study of unforced balance. That is, in sitting or standing or moving or breathing or doing any task, including but not limited to martial arts, can you do that movement in the most effective but least forceful, most efficient, graceful, and coordinated way? In the solo movements, you have these solo forms that people do. The training method is to move slowly so that you can study this. So there's the slow motion study of way of moving, but while you're moving slowly, you are, or in our style, we are attending to unforced balance. In other words, can I move from point A to point B effectively in the least forced, most balanced, and most natural way? So obviously, things like bad posture get in your way and make it inefficient. So the reason we improve our posture is to make that, kinetic chain through the body more fluid and efficient and have less blocks in it, so it does its work better. In partner work, the same principles are applied just to various partner drills up to and including combatives. So it's not just a series of unconscious movements. It's not just that you put yourself in these positions and that you somehow get benefits from doing that. It's a purposeful study of kinetic chains in the body and how to make them more efficient, more relaxed, and more natural. And by kinetic chain, I mean like a movement that's rooted in your foot and powered by your legs and, maybe amplified or directed by your waist and expressed by your hand. There's a chain through the body. It's not just arms. It's not just waist and arms. It's foot to hand or foot to whatever the striking surface is. The movements can be the movements are martial. All the movements in the forms that we do in the exercises have a martial art component to them, but the principles that you learn from doing that can be applied to any action, any physical action especially. The forms and exercises, as we look at it, are not the Tai Chi. The forms and exercises are the vehicles or the bridge that teach you about the principles and how to move. Because obviously you could do 1,000,000 forms and you could do 1,000,000 partner drills, and then you could go and get into 1,000,000 street fights and you'd never do anything that looked exactly like those forms or those drills, or just very, very rarely. You have to improvise those principles into the real world. So it's very much like jazz music in that you learn your instrument, but then when you go out and play, it's free form, and if it's good, it's being created in the moment, not recreated from a form or an exercise. So the forms and the exercises are not the Tai Chi. They're like a bridge or a vehicle to learn about the Tai Chi. So the style that I do is a Yang family style, but it has a lot of what I consider to be Chen-ish elements. That is to say, in a given movement, we will rise and fall inside that movement. We will also accelerate and decelerate in that movement. And we will also go from a smaller frame to a larger frame. So there's an opening and closing throughout the movements, there's a rising and falling throughout the movements, and there's a acceleration and deceleration within the movements. This is contrary to some so-called traditional Yang styles where you're at one speed, one height, one size frame all the time. So that's a particular style I'm coming from. We really emphasize a springy, up and down quality in the legs. And so these movements can be applied martially, but they don't have to be. Personally, I don't train for combat, although I like martial tools. I don't train at the speed and intensity of real fighting. So I like these tools. They teach me a lot. And if I got into a fight, I think I'd be better equipped than if I had a bunch of bad tools. Just like a guy who doesn't know how to build houses with some really good tools is better able to build a house than a person who doesn't know how to build houses who has really bad tools. So, but I use the tools all the time. I just don't use them in combat. I use them in everyday life. So here are some of the health benefits of this style of Tai Chi, which we call the double Yang style of Master Chong Da Chen. It's a symmetrical Yang style because we do everything left and right-handed. So one of the benefits that's really important to me is leg strength. And it's not just strong legs like you'd get from doing like leg presses on a weight machine. It's a kind of springiness. It's a kind of an isometric spring in the leg, so that we're really into balance and springiness, so that we can land on a foot and hold our balance there and bounce there on that. There's a sense of like the foot being like a palm, and your leg being almost like with a sensitivity of an arm. So there's this ongoing springy responsiveness in the legs, which of course has health benefits because you don't trip as much. If you do lose your balance, you can recover, you can move forward and away from things. You have a lot of range of options in your legs if you can drop into them and feel the thighs, which are the kind of powerhouse of the body to be able to move. So that leg strength and springiness and responsiveness down here, really, really important. Also posture and alignment. Lining up your body posture, your bone level posture, what I call the bone level, which is to put your bones in the right place, is great. But then to take that into motion, even better. Because motion, obviously not being a static thing, you can't just hold a posture and then move. For instance, your spine flexes a little bit when you move. All your joints adapt when you move to the situation and the actions you're taking. So it's good posture in motion. And that, increases efficiency and decreases wear and tear and prevents injury in your body. So having good posture allows you to align with gravity, and the work of your body goes into your muscles, not into your joints. So that's really good. Space in the body. When you create space by doing what we call suspending the joints, the bone level posture is putting your body in the right place. What I call the muscle level work is the appropriate use of muscle, like when and which muscles do you contract and where. The next level, what I call sometimes the energy level or the nervous system level, the joint level, that level is where we suspend the joints. So when your joints are suspended a little bit, there's a little bit of space in your body, and particularly space in your spinal vertebrae, so that they're not compressed. They're not crunched down like that, which impedes all kinds of flow in your body. So that space and looseness and openness in the joints promotes circulation, your nerve signals, your motor nerves, the yang part of nerves where you can act, and then the yin part of nerves where you can receive. Both of those are open and alive in a loose joint, an open joint. If the joint is limp, your hand will fall asleep. If I make it totally limp, this hand will fall asleep, and I won't be able to do anything with it, and I won't be able to feel anything with it. Same thing if I hold it rigidly tight all the time. If I just hold a fist really, just won't let it go, sooner or later my hand will go numb. And again, the joint's closed, my hand goes numb, I can't do anything with it, and I can't feel anything with it. So by suspending the joints in between there, it allows the circulation of signals in your body to be free-flowing, and that is not a bad thing. And of course, it's good for circulation, blood flow, lymph flow, having things open rather than compressed. A big one for me is the presence of mind in my body, because by paying attention slowly to these movements and these kinetic chains, it's like my brain extends into my body. My body becomes not the thing that takes my head around, but actually an extension of my mind, and the brain, in a sense, an extension of the body. The division starts to disappear. So that presence of mind helps me listen to my body and what's going on there. And as my wife Samara puts it, it's not just listening to the body. When you really extend the presence of mind into your body, you're listening as a body. Your sense of yourself that you're listening with is the body. It's not just the brain up here listening to the body down there. So the brain sort of extends and inhabits the body through the nerves, right? That's how you do that. Some people might call it chi, but I call it nerves. It's my motor and my sensory nerves active in my body. This increases awareness of tension, of holding, of emotional distress, of anything being off or wrong in my body. I notice it much sooner from doing this art, from studying these kinetic chains and how they move, and by paying attention to my body. Another big one is it improves balance. My balance, literally my physical balance, is much improved from doing this. So You know, I'm better able to prevent falls, I'm better able to find the equilibrium when something's off, either emotionally or physically. I notice it sooner, and I can make the appropriate corrections so that I can, you know, maintain my balance. So I'm, you know, hanging out on one leg here. So increased grace, smoothness, what I call everyday agility, spatial awareness. By studying these flows in my body and interacting with other partners and doing that, I get a more three-dimensional sense of the space around me. And by smoothing out my kinetic chains and smoothing out my muscles, I'm able to, I have just a more everyday agile sense of myself in the world, and that prevents accidents. You know, I don't trip as much, and if I do, I recover faster. I don't, you know, knock things over as much, or if I do, I recover faster. Again, another one related to that last one, putting muscles on dimmer switches. So when my muscles are on dimmer switches as opposed to just off or on, that increases efficiency. It enables me to use the amount of force needed for each task that I do in just a natural, second nature way eventually, in that so I don't waste a lot of energy, and I don't strain, and I lower my injury risk again by using just the amount of energy that I need to use for the task at hand. Not too much, not too little. I don't, you know, force things, and I'm not limp. You know, we were just talking today, one of my students and I, about being in an airport and watching people dragging the suitcases around. And when people drag them, they often just like this, they grab with their hand, and then the rest of their arm is just like a rope, and they're tugging at all the tendons and muscles. And he's a massage therapist, and he was saying like almost everyone who goes away on a trip, particularly people that aren't very strong physically, they all come back with shoulder stuff from dragging their suitcases around inefficiently. That study of kinetic chains in the body gives me more bang for my buck in almost all of my movements. Almost everything I do, I get a better return for the amount of investment of energy that I put in it, because I don't waste energy and things are more smooth and efficient. I think also by increasing the space in the body, and another thing in our style is we really differentiate a lot between hips and waist, so we don't always just turn them together. Sometimes we plant the hips and the waist turns by itself, and that coupled with the space can give you like an abdominal, a bit of an abdominal massage down here, and you have less compression, and your digestion is freed up, like the digestive movements are more free than if you're slumped or crumpled or compressed. So that less compression there and more freedom and motion, good for digestion. It also reduces mental tension, because I'm spending time offline, off media, studying just my body and physical space and these kinetic chains moving through my body. Because of that, it's time I spend not connected to the world of the internet and the world of all that stuff. I just noticed that one of my neighbors here, who is learning to play the didgeridoo, you can hear some humming. So you're going to hear some humming now from the neighboring apartment, and Tai Chi helps me roll with that. Tai Chi is great for your joints, because by studying these kinetic flows and making things more agile and smooth and flowing between the movements, the joints become more and more articulate. Every movement articulates and lubricates and warms and activates every joint in your body. So it's really good for you know, things like arthritis, both prevention and treatment, because you're moving through the joints are relaxed, and you know, they're getting some motion without too much local stress or tension. The emphasis on softness and relaxation, better listening and awareness of others and their effects on us, boundary study, especially when you're working with pushing hands and working other people, having your boundaries on dimmer switches, when to let someone in and when to not let someone in. These things to me are very, being aware of that, being aware of your boundaries and having them on dimmer switches, so you're not just closed or open, but you have varying adjusting layers there. To me, that's really good for my health. Before I did Tai Chi, I was a lot less conscious about how much I was opening and how much I was closing. People who do Tai Chi, people who like Tai Chi and do it, they do it. It's got an effect in a sense, because people do it. The best exercise in the world that nobody does is meaningless, and a mediocre exercise that people do has real benefits. When people like Tai Chi, they do it. They practice it regularly. It's not just a mindless, unconscious, sitting in front of a book at the gym, I have to work out. It's enjoyable. People tend to like this, and if you like it, people who do it like it, and if you like it, you're more likely to do it. So that's a benefit right there. Connection. Connection is very, very healthy for us, and it almost doesn't matter what we're connected to as long as we feel connected to something. So with Tai Chi, you're connected to the history. Usually your teacher or people have taught you, or even just from seeing movies. Even if your idea of what Tai Chi was or what ancient times were is not particularly accurate, there is a connection to the history of this, and your connection to nature, because you're moving in ways that are aligned with nature and the way that your body is adapted to move and breathe and stand and be. So there's a connection to nature, there's a connection to ourselves, there's a connection to other people that are doing it. It has sometimes if you're in classes, it has a strong social connection around that, and isolation is bad for your health. So Tai Chi helps you loosen up your boundaries and relax them and feel more connected to things. Tai Chi is great for memory, because you have to work to remember a long series of movements, and you have to remember the names of the movements. Some teachers make you even learn the Chinese words for every movement that you're doing. I didn't have to learn that, thank God, because I'm not good at Chinese. But still, having to remember the names and long series of movements in your body improves your kinesthetic and mental memory. Spatial awareness and situational awareness, noticing other bodies and whether they are potentially endangering to you, listening, noticing the tone of people's voices and what's going on around you. You're in a better position if trouble starts, and it reduces accidents. Again, noticing the direction that people are moving. There's more and more distracted movers, more and more distracted drivers, more and more people walking around with their freaking phones. I use my spatial awareness in my Tai Chi training constantly to adapt and to work around all these zombies. These martial type movements that we do in Tai Chi, the punching, the kicking, the elbowing, the shoulders back, the moving forward, all these movements that we do in Tai Chi, these movements are in our DNA. Even if we do them slowly with more of a yogic intent, these movements are how we are adapted to move and be in the world for thousands and thousands of years, perhaps even probably millions of years. Human or humanish animals have been doing these movements to survive on a regular daily basis. These movements are healthy for us. If you don't ever strike out and move out with your hands, I'm sorry, but you're just less healthy than someone who does. I'm not advocating violence, but these muscles are made for these kind of movements, and doing them, even if you're doing it in a very yogic kind of way, you're not thinking of chopping someone's throat out, you're just thinking of energy moving out your hand, that's fine, but that action, this action is in our DNA, and not doing it is unhealthy. Not going through the range of these movements, I think, is bad for us. Whole-bodied, efficient movements, they reduce repetitive strain on individual parts. So all the parts of your body do their part when you're working, because you're studying them. You're spreading this out. When your body receives impact, your whole body receives it. When you issue force, or when you do work, your whole body does the work, and each part does its part. So the whole-bodied efficient movements reduce repetitive strain. All parts do their parts when working, and all parts spread out impact when the body receives force, whether that's martial force, accident force, gravity, whatever. So by studying these movements, at least in the way that I study them and the way that we study them, we're learning to spread out the impact and spread out the work so that one part doesn't do all the work and get, tendinitis and whatnot. So, if your job involves doing this all day, you're going to get tendinitis unless you work it with your whole body. That's going to be much easier on your body than just doing this. Another great benefit that I find from Tai Chi is that the forms, like the solo exercises that we do, can be done in a number of different ways. We can theme our practice, and these different themes can customize the exercise to the practitioner's needs. For instance, if I injure myself, I'm going to be working in a different way. I'm going to do that same form. I might be doing it in a really relaxed way, so I can bring range of motion to my shoulder. But if my shoulder is injured, I'll do it differently. If it's not injured, I can do it a totally different way. Or I might be really emphasizing my hands during one practice session. Or I might really be emphasizing my elbows. Or I might really be emphasizing my shoulders. Or I might really be emphasizing relaxation, or my spine being upright, or my head being in the right place. Or I can really be emphasizing the martial effectiveness of the movement. Or I can really be emphasizing one of the different elements, like I could be thinking, can I move like water? Or I might be thinking, can I move like fire? Or I might be thinking, can I move like metal? Or I might be thinking, can I move like earth? You know, I can customize the form. I can do the same movements that I know really well, that I don't have to think about, because I know the choreography, so I can theme it according to how I feel. So I can take all these, there's dozens of different themes and different ways to practice the form. Strictly mechanically, focus on softness and relaxation, or really emphasizing the expansion and contraction, or really emphasizing the waist movements within the movements. It's just, your imagination can just go crazy thinking of different ways to emphasize, different themes to emphasize when you do the form. So not something that's typically done in tennis. You know, people don't go for a walk and think, I'm going to walk like a gorilla today. But I could do the form and think, you know, how would a gorilla do this form, or how would a snake do this form? And I can have a different angle on that. And it's also great practice for me in taking theory into practice, like mapping out movements in the form and then transposing them to partner work and noticing the difference, how I have to adjust and notice the difference between the map and the territory. That's a terrific exercise for me, and in everyday life. It just, everyday life requires learning, but it also requires adjustment. It requires having principles and knowing rules and stuff, but there's also the, you know, there's the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. There's the moment and interaction, and then there's the theoretical, element of it. So taking theory into practice, really good thing. Now, one thing that I think is really, really special about Tai Chi is that this one exercise, or this one system of exercises, includes all of the above and more. You may believe in Qi flow, and you may believe in meridians and Qi and stuff, and that's another benefit. If that's true, that's even another benefit. And I'm sure there's more benefits. These are just the ones that I could think of in the last couple weeks as I've been thinking about this. And I'm sure there's more. It's been great for my feet. Just my contact with the earth has become so much more solid and real from doing this. So Tai Chi encompasses all of this stuff, or at least the Tai Chi that I do, where I see it as a study of unforced balance in motion, with or without partners, moving slowly and studying that, and then taking that into faster and different applications, either with partners or out in the world, doing, just living life. So I can't imagine getting all of these benefits from doing just swimming, or doing just walking, or even, even doing yoga. I've done my first 6 years of Tai Chi. I did 6 years of Iyengar yoga concurrent with that, and I got a lot out of yoga. And I didn't mention flexibility because I think Tai Chi can affect flexibility, and my flexibility's gotten a little better from doing the style that we do. Yoga really emphasizes that. But even doing yoga, it isn't really a movement art. You know, you're holding isolated positions, which is great. You freeze the movie and just perfect that. But I've learned a lot more about movement and about my relationship with the world, and internal and externally, my body inside, as well as in relation to others. Much more from Tai Chi than from yoga. Not to knock yoga. Yoga is really great for some people, and I still practice some myself. But Tai Chi's been my main thing. So these are the reasons why I think Tai Chi is special, why I think it's unusual, and why I think it's a terrific exercise. It can be calibrated and adjusted. My oldest student is probably 83 or 4 years old. My youngest student is probably in his 20s. And they all can adapt, this exercise to their needs. It can be really vigorous, it can be really martial, it can be really soft, it can be really relaxing, it can be meditative, it can be spiritual, it can be help you rehab an injury, it can help you just do so many things. So yeah, I do think there's something special about it. I do think it's a wonderful exercise, and I think it's a great mix of nature and culture, and a great way to get more aliveness and more freedom and more joy and more connection in your life and in your body, in the world. So yeah, I think it's great. And all of that without too much mystical, you know, unsubstantiated stuff. That's all stuff that I've directly experienced myself. And one of the reasons why I practice Tai Chi, why it's the core practice of my life, when I'm playing guitar, when I'm writing, when I'm singing, when I'm kicking a hacky sack around or throwing cards into a hat, or even just talking with my wife and sorting things out in our relationship, or just about everything I do is, in my mind, part of Tai Chi training, because I'm looking for that unforced balance. So it really can ripple out into your whole life. I don't hear too many people saying my life is tennis, everything I do is tennis, or everything I do is walking, everything I do is swimming. You don't really hear that, but everything I do, I can relate to Tai Chi, that unforced balance of yin and yang, of firm and soft, finding that kind of sweet zone where I'm using as little extra forceful energy as possible to get the result I want. So that's my answer. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of thing. I post a lot of nature videos, Tai Chi videos, music videos, this kind of stuff. I've also set up some blogs that make my videos much easier to navigate than here on YouTube. So if you search "if you like my videos," Gene Burnett, "if you like my videos," there's links to all my blogs that make this much easier to navigate. And you could also visit my website, geneburnett.com, for a little more information. I've got a few things for sale there, a couple books. And yeah, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it.